We continue now at the top of Daf Chavav Amar Aleph and Meseches Avodah Zara. This is Avodah Zarah Daf 26a. On the previous summit, the Gemara was discussing what a Jewish person should do if he finds himself traveling with idol worshippers. And one of the pieces of advice is that the Jewish person should say he's traveling farther than he is actually traveling. That way, if the Oved Kochavim intends on killing him, let's say at the end of the journey, so the Jew will already have left the journey before he gets killed. And so the Gemara now is continuing with a story. Rav Menashe was going Levei Tursa to a place called Beit Tursa. Pagu Beganve, so he met up with some thieves. Amrulei, they said to him, Lon Kazalt, where are you going? Amar Lahen LaPumbedisa, so he said, I'm going to Pumbedisa. Ki Mota Levei Tursa, now when he reached Beit Tursa, so Parish, he separated. Amrulei, they said to him, Talmida de Yehuda Ramoat, you're a student of Yehuda the Rama, you're a student of Yehuda who was deceitful. Rashi explains, Talmida de Yehuda Ramoat, Talmido shall Rav Yehuda have, he was a student of Rav Yehuda. V'karulei Ramon, they called him a Ramah, they said he was deceitful. Kilomar mimenu lamartal Ramosenu, you learned how to be deceitful to us from him. And Rashi points out, list in Yisrael Hayu, these Ganve, these thieves over here were actually Jewish thieves that are involved in this story over here. And so that's what they said to him. They said, you're a student of Yehuda the Ramai. And so the Gemara continues, Amar Lahu, he said to them, Yadisu Le, do you know him so well that you know that he's a Ramai, that you know that Rav Yehuda is deceitful? Yehe Rava delhavuhanu inshi b'shamte, let it be the will of HaKadosh Baruch Hu that these men, that you should be in his excommunication, meaning you should be as if you're in the excommunication of Rav Yehuda. Rashi explains, V'shamte lefisha Adam Gadol, because Rav Yehuda was a great person. V'shamte chayla, therefore, if he excommunicated someone, if he cursed somebody, that would actually take effect. So laitinu b'shamte, so therefore he cursed them with the excommunication of Rav Yehuda. And so the Gemara continues, Azlu avdu genevsa esrin v'tartin shenin, these thieves, they continued to try to steal for 22 years, v'lo atzlachu, but they weren't successful. So kevan t'chazu, so when they saw they weren't successful, asu kulu tavu shamtayu, they all came to claim back their excommunication, meaning to ask for forgiveness. V'havi buchad girdana, and there was one weaver, the lo asa, who didn't come to l'sharu yeshamta, he didn't come to undo his excommunication. And the Gemara says, Ochle Arya, the Gemara says that he was eaten by a lion. And the Gemara says, Hainu dam riinchi, that's the expression that people say, Girdana de lo taizen, if you have a weaver who is not an onav, who's not humble, Shasa batzer mishnei, so he's going to lose a year from his life. And Rashi explains, Gardana oreg, again it refers to a weaver, Gardan de lo taizen onav, a weaver who is not humble. And Rashi says, Stam garden ein lo boshes panim, in general a weaver does not have a proper amount of shame, and again that's why the Gemara commented that he loses years of his life. And the Gemara comments, Tachazi, come and see, Ma ben ganve Bavel v'list in Eretz Yisrael, the difference between the thieves of Bavel and the robbers in Eretz Yisrael. And Rashi says, Ganve de Bavel shapagu berav Menashe nisparku lecharif adam gadol. These Ganavim in Bavel, the story we just had, so they were willing to shame a great person. Again, that was referring to the fact that they were shaming Rav Yehuda. But v'list in Eretz Yisrael, the story we just had in the previous summit, the robbers in Eretz Yisrael, shapagu betalmidi Rabbi Akiva, they met up with the students of Rabbi Akiva, Sipra v'shivcho, they told about the greatness of Rabbi Akiva. V'av apisha stam listin perutzin mi Ganavim, even though listim are usually worse than Ganavim, but still the ones in Eretz Yisrael, the listim of Eretz Yisrael, were better than the Ganavim of Bavel. L'hodiacha shivcha shel Eretz Yisrael. That tells you the praise of Eretz Yisrael. And the Gemara continues with the Mishnah, Bas Yisrael lo tiyaled es ovedes kochavim. A Jewish woman should not deliver a child of a non-Jewish woman, of an idol worshiper, mimnei shemeyaled es bein la'avodas kochavim, because then she's helping to deliver a child that's going to be serving Avoda Zara. But the Mishnah continues, Aval ovedes kochavim miyaledes Bas Yisrael, but an idol worshiper is allowed to deliver the child of a Jewish woman. And Bas Yisrael lo tonik bino shel ovedes kochavim, a Jewish woman should not nurse a child of the ovedes kochavim, of the idol worshiper. Aval ovedes kochavim meinika bino shel Yisrael birishusa, but the ovedes kochavim is allowed to nurse the son of the Jewish woman if it's in her property. And Rashi explains, meinika bino shel Yisrael birishusa, she can nurse the son of the Jewish woman if it's in her property. The Yisraelis, that's the property of the Jewish woman, but she shouldn't give over the child, that now the non-Jewish woman is going to take the child to her house, that she shouldn't kill the child. And the Gemara says, Tanu Rabbanan, the rabbis taught, Bas Yisrael lo tiyaledes ovedes kochavim, a Jewish woman should not deliver the child of the idol worshiper, mipnei shemiyaledes ben la'avodas kochavim, because she's delivering a child that's going to serve Avoda Zara. Ve'ovedes kochavim lo tiyaledes Bas Yisrael, and the idol worshiper, she should not deliver the child of the Jewish woman, mipnei shechashudin al shvichas damim, because the idol worshippers are suspect on shvichas damim, on murder, that she's going to kill the child. Divrei Rabbi Meir, these are the words of Rabbi Meir. The Chachamim omer, but the Chachamim say, Ovedes kochavim yaledes as Bas Yisrael, that an idol worshiper is allowed to deliver a child of a Bas Yisrael, bisman sha'acheros omdos al gaba, as long as there are other people that are standing around, that's going to prevent any situation of murder. Avolo beino leveina, but it shouldn't be privately just between the two of them. Rabbi Meir omer, Rabbi Meir says, Afilo acheros omdos al gaba, even if there are others that are standing over her, namilo, we're also not allowed to have the non-Jewish woman deliver the child. The zimnin demoncha leyada apusa, because sometimes she'll place her hand on the soft part of the head of the child, v'kat lalei, and then kill the child, v'lo mischazi, but it won't be clear that that's what happened. Ki ahi itisa, it's like the story with a particular woman, Diamar lechaverta, she said to her friend, this is two idol worshippers talking to one another, she said to her friend, Molda Yehudayasa, Bas Molda Yehudayasa, you're a midwife for the Jewish women, the daughter of a midwife for the Jewish women. That was an insult that she was saying to her. So Amra Allah, so then the other one, she said back to her, Nefishin Bishta Dayitasa, may many evils befall that woman, referring to the woman that she was talking to kamishapilna minayu dama, because I extract blood from them, meaning to say I kill many of the babies, ki ufya denahara, like the foam that's found in the river. And the Gemara continues, V'Rabbanan, now the Rabbanan respond to that, Amrulach, they will say to you, Lohi, it's not true, you can't bring a proof from that incident, because b'milsa bial mahudu kimta. She was just establishing herself with words, meaning to say she was just bragging, but that's not actually something that happened. And Rashi explains, Ovedes kochavim lo tiyalides bas Yisrael va'afilu acheros Yisraelios omdos al gaba. Again, according to Rabbi Meir, even if there are other Jewish women around, the Ovedes kochavim, the idol worshiper, should not help to deliver the child of the Jewish woman. Apusa shall place her hand, again, al metzcho shal tinok, on the forehead of the child, makom shemocho shal tinok rofes, the area where the head of the child is soft. Velo mischazi lo minkura shar ragos, so it's not going to be clear that she's the one that killed the child. And the response of the midwife was, nefishon bishta dayitasa, which means kach v'kach ros yavo alecha, the following bad things should happen to you, kiminyan, in the same number, sheshbalti mehen v'arakti bohen, in the same number of babies that I have killed of theirs. And finally, Rashi says, "V'Rabbanan, the Rabbanan de Kasavri, that they hold bisman shacheros omdos al gaba shari, that as long as there are other women around, then it's permitted. Amri lach, they will say to you, b'milsa bialma hudu kimta." Again, she was just establishing herself with words. She was bragging about something that wasn't really true. And the Gemara continues at the two dots. The Mishnah said, Bas Yisrael Lotanik, a Jewish woman should not nurse the son of an Ovedes Kochavim, of an idol worshiper. And the Gemara says, Tadu Rabban, the rabbis taught, Bas Yisrael Lotanik B'nashal Ovedes Kochavim, a Jewish woman should not nurse the son of an Ovedes Kochavim, of an idol worshiper, Mivnei Shemagadeles Ben LaAvodas Kochavim, because that son is going to be raised for Avoda Zara. The Ovedes Kochavim Lotanik Es B'nashal Bas Yisrael, and similarly, in Ovedes Kochavim, she should not nurse the son of a Bas Yisrael, of a Jewish woman, Mivnei Shechashuda Al Shvichas Damim, because she's suspected of murder. Divrei Rabbi Meir, these are the words of Rabbi Meir. The Chachamim Omrim, and the Chachamim say, Ovedes Kochavim Meiniko Es B'nah Shel Bas Yisrael, that an Ovedes Kochavim is allowed to nurse the son of a Bas Yisrael. Bisman Shacheros Omdas Al Gaba, if it's a situation where there are others that are standing over her, there are others that are watching. Avalo Beino Leveina, but it cannot be done privately, that's already going to be problematic. And the Gemara says, Rabbi Meir Omer, Rabbi Meir says, Afilu acheros omdos al gabonami, even if there are others standing over her, it's also a problem to nurse. Lo, it's not allowed, that she's not allowed to nurse this child, again, of the Jewish woman. The zimnin deshaifel esama lidod me'avroi v'kot lolei, because sometimes she's going to put some poison on her breast when she's outside, when nobody sees her, and that's going to kill the child. And the Gemara says with tzricha, it's necessary to have this machlokas both by the case of delivering the child and by the case of the nursing of the child. Diashminan miyaledis, because let's say the Mishnah only taught, or let's say we only had the machlokas rather by a situation of a miyaledis, of a situation where she's helping to deliver the child. Bahi ko'ami rabbanan deshari, there the rabbanan say it's permitted. There the rabbanan are lenient. Delo efshar mishum da'acheros ro'oso, so there it's impossible that she's going to kill the child because there are others that are watching her. Avol meinika, but when it comes to nursing, the efshar the shaifale sam ledod me'avroi v'kotlole, because it's possible to put poison on the breast on the out when the person's outside, and then that will kill the baby. So ema modi leila Rabbi Meir. So over there, the Chachamim might admit to Rabbi Meir that we have to be strict. V'yashmin and meinika, and if we only had it by nursing, by hikam Rabbi Meir da'aser, there Rabbi Meir says it's forbidden. There Rabbi Meir is strict. Mishum the shaifale sam ledod me'avroi v'kotlole, because again she's going to put on the poison when she's outside, and that will kill the child. Avol miyaledes, but in a situation of delivering the baby, baby, where it's not possible to do that because there are others standing over her. So Ema Modi Lahula Rabbanan, I might say that Rabbi Meir admits to the Rabbanan that we can be lenient, and that's why it's necessary to teach the machlokas in both situations. And the Gemara continues, Uraminu, we have the following contradiction from a Braisa. Yehudis mi'aledes ovedes kochavim b'schar, a Jewish woman is allowed to help deliver but the child of an ovedes kochavim if she's getting paid, avalo b'chinam, but she's not allowed to help deliver the child if she's doing it for free. And the Gemara answers, Amar Rav Yosef says, B'schar shari, if she's doing it for wages, then it actually is permitted for the Jewish woman to act as a midwife to help the non-Jewish woman deliver the baby, Misham Eva, because otherwise it's going to cause hatred. If the Jewish woman is not going to help deliver the child even when she's getting paid, then already it's going to cause hatred between the Jewish people and the non-Jewish people. And the Gemara continues, Savar Rav Yosef Lameimer, Rav Yosef thought to say, O lode ovedes kochavim b'shabsa b'schar shari misham Eva, that also to help deliver the child of an ovedes kochavim, of an idol worshiper on Shabbos, if again the Jewish woman is getting paid, that also should be permitted, also because it's going to engender hatred. There's going to be hatred if they see that the Jewish midwives are helping to deliver the Jewish babies on Shabbos, but not the non-Jewish babies on Shabbos. Amar le Abaye said to him, he said to Rav Yosef, Yachla l'meimar lo, the Jewish midwife can say to the non-Jewish woman who's having the baby, Didon diminatri Shabsa, for our people, meaning for the Jewish people that they keep Shabbos, mechalalinon alayu, so we're allowed to desecrate the Shabbos in order to help them deliver the child. But you, the lo mintri Shabsa, you non-Jews don't keep Shabbos, so lo mechalalinon, so we're not allowed to desecrate Shabbos on your behalf in order to deliver the child, and therefore since we can provide that reasonable excuse, therefore it will not cause hatred. And the Gemara continues along the same line. Savar of Yosef Lameimer, of Yosef thought to say, Anuki b'schar shari misham Eva, that also nursing, let's say we're going to pay the Jewish woman to nurse the child of the Ovedes Kochavim, that should be permitted because otherwise it will cause hatred. Amar le Abaye said to him, Yochla l'meimar, she can say the following, there are reasonable excuses for nursing as well. I penuya, if the woman that we're talking about, the Jewish woman, is a penuya, she's unmarried, she can say, Bo'ino l'insuve, I want to get married and therefore I don't want to nurse this child. And Ieshes ishi, if she's a married woman, so she also has an excuse, she can say, Loka mizdahamna bi'ape gavra, I don't want to be repulsive in front of my husband, that's why I don't want to nurse your child. And the Gemara continues, Savar of Yosef Lameimer, of Yosef thought to say, Hadatanya, that which we learned in a Braisa, Ha'ovdei Kochavim v'roi behei madaka, it says that if you have Ovdei Kochavim, idol worshippers, and also roi behei madaka, these are shepherds of smaller animals, they were considered to be thieves, these individuals, even if they were Jewish individuals, lo malin v'lo moridin, the halach is, you're not allowed to bring them up from a pit, meaning to say, if they're in a pit and they're going to die, you don't save them, but lo moridin, you also don't throw them down into the pit. And so Rav Yosef thought, asuke b'schar shari, that to bring them up from the pit, let's say you're getting paid to do that, that would be permitted, mishum eva, because otherwise it's going to cause hatred. Amar le Abaye said to him, Yochel lo marlo, over there also he has an excuse, he can say to him, Koi bria igra, that my son, he's on the roof, so he needs the ladder, so I can't help you out. Inami nikidali zimna lebeidavar, or he could give a different excuse, he could say that the court is summoning me, I have to appear at the court, and therefore I'm not able to help you. Again, if you can provide a reasonable excuse, so that it's not going to cause hatred. And the Gemara continues, Tani Rabbi Avo, Kami Rabbi Yochanan, Rabbi Avo taught in front of Rabbi Yochanan, Ha'ovdei Kochavim v'roi behei madak, again the idol worshippers and those who graze the smaller animals, lo malin, you don't bring them up from the pit. And we will continue with this discussion in the next video on Daf Chavav Amud Beis.